Hey, I want to do a video before I go to the gym. I made some structural changes to the computer, so I'll probably do another ghetto, unscientific benchmark for my own amusement later and put it on the internet for also my own amusement later. So if you're interested, check that out. But it's simple. I had a couple flash drives, like SSD, like server ones that I got. They were because I was doing some research on like the best like NAND flash because I wanted to like have a deeper short-term memory, so to speak. And so like the 3D NAND flash, and I basically, after untechnical research onto the topic, I found out that basically Micron is the industry leader on that, and their server grade parts have the most cells density and have the most thickness. And anyway, I was interested, so I picked up a couple, and the storage executive at software, and got whatever I could get going on that to make it operational. And I picked up two of them, and because they were just like 256 gigabytes, they weren't like big memories, I wasn't using them for really anything. I created a pool with them at one point, but it was basically just like put them in there, turn on the flex cache and let them go, see what happens. And because that was kind of their function, I put one in the top slot above the GPU, even though that's not my Gen 5 slot and it's not a Gen 5 SSD. I put it in there because I figured between the CPU and the GPU, there's a lot of communication. Maybe there's need for some short-term memory there. So that's kind of my very mechanical way of thinking about a computer. You can tell I deal with pipes and stuff, and flow, and not really digital communication. So I ended up deciding to not think about it like an expansion tank and start to think about it more like lanes of traffic. And when I started to think about it like lanes of traffic, I'm like, just having that in there is probably interrupting a few lanes of traffic. And every time any information is diverted to it, that's information that could have otherwise be going to the GPU, and the GPU has its own onboard memory. And as long as that memory isn't saturated, what I'm doing is I'm diverting lanes away from memory that is faster and closer to the process, right? To the program. So I kind of got it. It clicked in my head. So I woke up this morning and I'm like, all right, I'm going to pull that out, and that'll probably solve my issue of running between 90% and 99% utilization, and I'll probably be 99% utilization more of the time once that's removed. And I'm expecting to see that. And not that I'm not fully saturated at 90%, but it's kind of just like, is this right? Am I thinking about it correctly? Well, let's test it. And I'm going to find out later if I'm right. I'm expecting that I am, because I've heard other people say don't do that. And I wasn't like using that as my operating system. You know what I mean? That wasn't like my where I was storing games. It was just basically a small flash drive that was in there. But just going to it for any reason will divert traffic, and it's unnecessary, I believe. Just thinking about it a different way without really a deep understanding. But I'm expecting to see higher utilization and increased performance later. Not that I need it. Oh yeah, so I was thinking about all this stuff, and I've been playing a lot of games lately, but I wanted to refocus. The reason there is an objective here, the reason I want functioning, self-training, self-code writing, artificial intelligence that is proprietary to the best of my ignorant ability. Like, look, I don't want to go out there and pirate somebody's stuff and or be beholden to them to pay them a monthly fee. If I'm capable of buying the hardware and operating the software, why do I keep needing you at a certain point? Right? And I don't want that expense. And the whole point is to eliminate those monthly fees. Those monthly fees will get you. And I am going to be starting a business in the very near future. And a big part of that business is overhead and mitigating that overhead. And the biggest liability I will face, hopefully never, is the liability that comes from employees. Financial and legal liabilities that come from employees are astronomical in comparison to anything else that I'll be doing. So if I can avoid a secretary, that's worth of personal hard-earned dollars. That's worth $100,000 to me. If I can avoid hiring a secretary, that's worth $100,000 to me. Easy. I'd be willing to rationally throw $100,000 at that computer if, when I'm done, it can replace a secretary. For real. I would build a $100,000 computer and experiment with it and spend a year on it if it would replace the cost and liability of hiring a secretary. And if I can replace an accountant and a dispatcher, I mean, it's a worthy investment if I can put it to the use of actually displacing workers. And it sounds cruel, but let me tell you, I've been out there working for a long time, and I'm just about to start my first business. And just as a worker, not a manager, not anybody I'm not excited about hiring anybody. I'm not. I'm looking to protect myself from other people. That's exactly what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to bring them into my personal finances. I'm not trying to bring them in to my house or my property. I'm trying to just create financial protection from other people and what I see that they're doing. Hiring people is bringing them into your environment, and it is even more dangerous than going into theirs from a liability perspective, because think of embezzlement, think of people stealing clients and on, and stealing materials and stealing tools, and you bring someone in for a week, they slip, and you get sued, and on. The liabilities are astronomical, and more people are exploiting those. I'm talking like an idiot because I'm trying to think at the same time. I'm sorry. Exploiting those vulnerabilities more than they are actually contributing. And it's normal. So I'm not excited about hiring anybody. And the idea of having to, because I don't have the time, is terrifying. So yeah, the idea of building $100,000 computer that at the end of the day could replace a secretary and an accountant and a dispatcher for an operational cost of a few $100s a month in electricity. And yeah, that's a worthwhile investment. So right now I'm messing with video games, I'm doing this stuff. I don't think the technology is there. I don't think the software is quite there. I don't know yet. I don't know really how much it's gimped. It's what it comes down to. I don't know. But I can see the potential in writing a service ticket and emailing it to me after receiving a phone call, being able to automatically decipher an address, being to gain authorization, and forwarding that information to a cellular device. Bam, you replaced an employee that would have cost me $50,000 every year. Just by a telemarketer answering the phone and being able to gain authorization for a technician to come out to the house, agreement on a service call charge, and forward that information to my phone. You replaced a secretary, you replaced a dispatcher, and you protected me. So that is the ultimate goal of this machine. It's not just to make pretty pictures, but it's not there. It's not even close. Near as I can tell, the limitations are programmed in, but I'm not a programmer, and to the best of my ability, I'm trying to find software that will enable some sort of cracking of that through self-learning. But even then, I don't really have the skill set to provide the direction to the machine learning. So it's kind of like, once it's off the chain, it's off the chain, you know? So there's hope, but there's an objective I need to keep in sight, beyond just playing games. I'm trying ultimately to gain an understanding and to gain a new set of tools that I can use to accomplish goals. That's it.